Let's look today at Comma Rule 3A. Comma Rule 3A says use a pair of commas to set off a non-essential appositive in a sentence. Now, let's break this down because I'm sure it's not clear right away. A pair of commas means a comma before it and a comma after it. So, 2 commas. Okay? Non-essential means it's not necessary to the meaning of the sentence. It's added information. Now, for the big word, appositive. An appositive is a noun that comes right after another noun to rename it. Let's look at some examples. If I say, Mr. Jones, our mailman, I've named Mr. Jones, and then mailman is the appositive because it's another noun telling who I'm talking about. The same for Alfred the Great. Alfred is his name, but Great is telling which Alfred I'm talking about. Florida, the Sunshine State. State is renaming Florida. Now, Bob is an appositive for uncle because it's telling which uncle I'm talking about. If I say Einstein, a German scientist, scientist is the appositive that is renaming Einstein. If I say Judy, the girl on the bench, girl is the one noun that is renaming Judy. So girl is the appositive. Now, here's another definition. That is an appositive phrase. The appositive phrase is the appositive with all of its modifiers. Let's use the same examples. Mailman was the appositive that was renaming Mr. Jones. The appositive phrase is our mailman. Great was the appositive that was renaming Alfred. So the appositive phrase is the Great. State was the appositive renaming Florida. The Sunshine State is the whole appositive phrase. Now, Bob is not in an appositive phrase. It's just a plain old appositive. And scientist was the appositive for Einstein. A German scientist is the whole appositive phrase. And girl was the appositive for Judy. So the whole appositive phrase is the girl on the bench. Now, when you have an appositive, you must decide if it is essential or non-essential. Now, here's how you can do that. If you have already thoroughly identified the person or place, you've given their specific name, there's no question about what you're talking about, then the appositive is probably going to be non-essential. Okay? If you have, then the appositive is added information and you set it off with commas. Here's an example. Florida State University, my alma mater, just won the game. Now, I totally identified Florida State University. There's no question about who I was talking about. My alma mater is added information. So that is a non-essential appositive that is renaming Florida State University. I'm going to set it off with commas. All right, the same thing for the next one. Mr. Davies, our mailman, was bitten by a dog. Our mailman is just telling who Mr. Davies was, but Mr. Davies is thoroughly identified. So the appositive is non-essential, so we set it off with commas. All right, let's look at some examples. Bay Haven, a school made of Bay County's elite, offers a quality education. Okay? Bay Haven is the subject of the sentence. All right? The appositive would be school, because that's the one word that's renaming Bay Haven. The whole appositive phrase is a school made up of Bay County's elite. Okay? You don't have to have that That's added information. We've thoroughly identified Behaven, and the point of this sentence is that it offers a quality